There's a ton of chatter about five-star quarterback Juju Lewis, and Auburn is right in the middle of it.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Happy Charlie Tuesday to all who celebrate. Of course, that is Auburn message board legend Charlie5. He also hosts the Top Button podcast. We'll talk about the trickle-down effect of Jared Smith potentially being a part of Auburn's class in the near future, as well as who could be next to commit to the Auburn Tigers. But the name that everybody can't quit talking about, they can't quit searching on Twitter and searching on Google, that is Juju Lewis, the number one quarterback in the class, according to multiple outlets. Obviously visited Colorado this past weekend, and there's a lot of chatter with that already because Colorado...
Bacon cheeseburger.
Yeah, that's what it is. They're going to name a burger after him. So clearly that's what Juju Lewis and his family wants. Sarcasm.
They put bacon and cheese on a hamburger, and that was the red carpet. That was the
What if anybody else has ever done that? Has anybody else ever put bacon and cheese on a burger? Who knows?
First time.
Who knows? History. Yeah, I guess so. Colorado, of all places, to be the first to do that. Despite all this chatter and the pomp and circumstance and the media frenzy that is Deon Sanders and the Colorado Buffs, don't let that distract you. Auburn is still in this race, Charlie5.
1,000%. 1,000%. Look, you're going to hear people talk about, Colorado, they got the money, they can compete. The thing is, it's not promises. It's promises. The money is not from like the Colorado Buffaloes collective or like the real NIL. It's all promises. Oh, I got Aflac. Oh, I got this. I got that. We can hook you up with all these. I got celebrity friends. We can whatever. It's all promises. That's why at the end of the day, that's why there wasn't a flip this past weekend, because you had everything else. You had the celebrity aspect of it. You had the tens of people outside the Champion Center, the Colorado Champion Center, which I assume is just a building full of nothing. But Auburn's still in the mix. Auburn's still talking. I think everything about the Auburn situation laid out just makes so much sense, and that's why they're continuing to be a steady name in this whole deal.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of the promises from an NIL point of view, like you said, were okay. There's these national brands, that are working currently with Colorado athletes, specifically Shadur Sanders, which is Deon Sanders' son, the quarterback. But they're working with him not because he's Colorado's quarterback, because he's Deon's son. Yes. And so is that going to happen at the same level for Juju? It could.
But it's nothing you can. Yeah, it's nothing you can promise. It's nothing that it's all speculation. It's two in the hand versus two in the bush. I mean, it's all speculation.
Right. It's 100% speculation. So we'll see. USC and Auburn are able to offer more, we assume, in regards to concrete. This is what our collectives can do, and this is what the businesses that are partnered with the collectives can do. Colorado doesn't have that. And also, like, Juju seems like a smart kid. And his father, who has a big part of Juju's recruitment, he seems like a very smart man. He's taking his time. He's taking his time with you. And these guys have to know. And if not, I'm sure USC and Auburn have reminded them. But the odds of Deon Sanders being there in 2 years is very low. And sure, he can portal out if that were to be the case. And I'm sure that's something that they've discussed. But I just don't see how that's a compelling argument for a guy that is the caliber level of Juju Lewis.
No, look, I'm gonna take the bug off a little bit. I'm gonna try to just step back, take the bias away. If he were to stick with USC, can anybody argue with that? Can anybody argue? Is there a really good argument against that? It's LA, okay? It's Lincoln Riley.
Lincoln Riley is the biggest argument for me.
Quarterback after quarterback. I do not care if he did not recruit them out of high school. When they come to him, they either get better or regardless, they win, they get drafted. So he's a quarterback whisperer. Again, you got the Hollywood factor. So like if he were to stick with USC, I get it. If he were to go to Georgia, I get it. If he were to go to Alabama, I get it. Yes. If he goes to Auburn, I get it. The case I feel like is there. A good, young, talented, skilled team, a skilled player team around him that's going to be there 1 year under their belt for him to kind of, if he were to win the job right out of the gate, take over. It makes sense. The Colorado thing, to me, would be a completely reckless decision. Like, you just do not care about your future. You're not going to have the same offensive line. Shadur he got sacked more than any player in the country last year. Throw for a ton of yards. They won 4 games. They're probably going to win 4 or 5 again this year. And then they're going to keep doing this song and dance of kickoff and quote unquote reload with players that are exact same skill as the dudes they just ran off and signed 5 or 6 kids from high school, just like that, just like they've been doing. It just doesn't make sense unless it's just I don't even think they're going to get as much. Like they're going to get TV time, but like if they don't win real quick, everybody's going to be like, okay, well, they're going to go 4-8 again, and you're not going to get the buzz that you got when they came out of the gate and beat TCU and beat Nebraska, and then just absolutely crap the bed after that. I just don't get it. These people are smart people. TC Lewis is a smart dude. Juju, you listen to him talk, he's a smart dude. The Colorado thing
he's already a pro.
I just cannot make that make sense to me. Like I will not believe that they're even legitimate. I really won't.
Yeah, until he flips to Colorado, I just don't buy it.
No,
that's going to be something where, like, Juju, you're going to have to flip to Colorado for me to buy it.
And I will straight up say that's a terrible business decision. Like at the time,
and I would say that there's no way he ends his college career at Colorado if he were to go there.
Just like I love Bo Nix, and I'm so happy he came to Auburn, but he came to Auburn at the worst time for a quarterback to come to Auburn. I think he made a bad decision in 2019 coming to Auburn, and luckily he had time to get out and go to Oregon and blow it up and still be a high draft pick. But I would say I said the same. It was a similar situation. It didn't make sense for him to come. You didn't have a lot of success with quarterbacks. You got bad offensive line. You did have some skill guys, but it's the same type situation. The Colorado thing, like, it's laughable. It really is laughable that it's even a discussion.
Yeah. So not buying it. I still think Auburn is in the top 2 for the pursuit of Juju Lewis. Yeah. And honestly, I think the conversations we're going to be having over the next week or so are going to be similar to the ones we had last week and the week prior. I don't think the Colorado visit moves the needle when you actually talk about the end result of the recruitment. It's fun because it's Colorado and it's Deon. You're able to do different things, but I'm just not buying it. I'm not buying it. I still think it's an Auburn USC race. USC might slightly be in the lead right now, but Auburn's in this. Auburn is certainly in this, and we'll see how Hugh Freeze and the staff handle kind of pushing that, because the KJ Lacey smoke continues to rise. The quarterback from Maryland who is committed to Texas right now. It seems like he is the viable option if Juju Lewis does not end up in Auburn's class.
I hear a bunch of people say, how much longer can you wait? We got to do something, whatever. I think you make one last massive push, just as hard as you can, to get him here for Big Cat Weekend and see if you can close it down and finalize some things. Make sure you got everybody's on the same page. And then after that, you may need to pivot. But I think you at least give it that. At least give it all the way up as hard as you can up until Big Cat Weekend, and then just see what happens. Yeah,
if you want to say USC is the lead still because he's committed to USC, that's fine. But Auburn is number 2, not Colorado.
Right.
We saw a domino fall this weekend. It felt pretty quick. And I think it kind of showed some things that are probably about to happen for Auburn's class. Let's discuss that in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Charlie5, let me ask a very simple question. Can you imagine going anywhere other than FanDuel to place any sports wagers? Can you?
I'm trying. This is me trying to imagine, and I can't do it. I just couldn't do it just then. I tried really hard, couldn't do it.
Not really a world I want to live in. That's for sure. That's for sure. Hey, it's summer. Sports are slowing down. FanDuel gets it. And so what are they doing? They are hooking up all customers with a boost or bonus daily. So there's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Charlie5, when you hear the word boost, what does that mean to you?
It sounds like your odds of winning are just getting boosted right up there, is what it sounds like to me.
That's right. So head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most out of your summer. Can you imagine doing anything else this summer other than just spending time on FanDuel?
Nope. What else is there to do?
Nope. Don't spend time with your family. Spend time with FanDuel.
Not outside.
FanDuel.com/lockedon. It's too hot. It is way too hot. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball and, of course, the Locked On Podcast Network. Charlie5, when you look at Jared Smith, who is the edge rusher from Thompson, 6'6", over 230 pounds, great body. It's exactly what you want.
6'6", too pretty. That's what I like. That's what I call it.
Okay.
6'6", too pretty.
There's a lot of smoke about him committing to South Carolina, potentially even this past weekend. Like there was a lot of pull happening there. Apparently, DJ Durkin loves the guy. He came in, worked out. DJ Durkin likes what he saw, and it almost seemed like there was a decision between Zion Grady or Jared Smith. And we've heard the drama of Alabama not taking Zion Grady. It seems like Auburn was kind of in that boat too. So what happens then? Ohio State comes and takes Zion Grady. He commits over the weekend. So it appears, if you're kind of following, the tracks here, Jared Smith to Auburn doesn't seem like a crazy guess at this point.
No, and I think it was probably up until just recently, you're probably talking about Jared Smith, the South Carolina commit, possibly could be on their commit list by now. And that's changed. Like you said, he came in last week. Scroggins is still the number one edge on your board. And Jared Smith, after his workout, it's like, okay, we got kind of a number situation here. You can't just take three of the same type player. You got to figure out what's the differentiating factor. And Zion Grady was it looked like he was ready to jump on board somewhere. And I think we still wanted to kick the tires on this Jared Smith thing, which I think we sit really pretty for. Zion Grady goes ahead and commits. That looks like Jared Smith is your a number one guy behind Herbert Scroggins. And a great place for a great program. I think his recruitment was a little bit slower because he played at a different high school last year, different system. Let's see. We want to wait and see how he does in these camps, see how his season plays out. But it looks like Auburn's hot and heavy on Jared Smith right now. And you're talking about at least on the on-3 industry average, you're talking about the number 2 player in the state. So he would definitely help bolster this class even higher. And you got his teammate Anquan Fagans that you're looking at possibly at the end of July adding as well. So I think he could be one to watch.
There's so many aspects of this, Charlie5, that I love. One, you just mentioned Thompson. If we get into the habit of adding multiple Thompson players every single year, yes, please. Yes.
Hey, they got a pretty good little quarterback coming up pretty soon too. So they got a pretty good little quarterback coming out of there in a couple years as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's here a good bit too. I mean, I think Auburn's going to be in on it for him for sure. But you look ahead, I'm of the mindset, get as many edge players as possible. I think they should have gotten Zion Grady as well. I think they should get as many edge guys as possible. And then with the portal and all that, just let it all work out. But I understand the thought process here.
But if you think about it, this is another thing to think about. There's 16 commits right now. You're coming up on kind of almost having like a numbers issue, where it's like, how many guys can you actually take?
The weird thing is we don't actually know that number because so many dudes are going to run out of eligibility this year.
Yeah, true. But do you take 30 plus guys? I mean, you still got to have a quarterback. You still have another running back, possibly two wide receivers, another tight end, another wide receiver. That's 6 players right there. Now you're at 22. So how many more?
I think making sure you nail the pass rusher is more important than not all of those positions, but most of them.
That's fair. That's
just an ideology difference. That's just an ideology thing. And obviously, the coaching staff, I'm sure, had all these conversations. But you look ahead to 2026, Tank Jones is the number 1 player in the state. Edge guy. Auburn's in a good spot with him. Hezekiah Harris is another one, number 2 player in the state. Auburn's got a good shot with him. Both of those guys are edge rushers. So to like, I'm sure that's part of it. I'm sure that's part of it that they feel confident that next year's class is going to have multiple edge rushers as well. You also may have to get one in the portal in December as well. Cause let's assume Kieran Crawford does come back. And then you've got some of the, the now freshman guys with Jamonte, and I'm blanking on the other one. Joe Phillips. Yeah.
Even Amaris Williams could possibly play a little edge. Like you got several dudes. You got you have some really good young players that could all get some snaps next year.
Yeah. Yeah. So I understand it. But I'm of the mindset, like, get as many as you possibly can. But yeah, it seems like they picked Jared Smith over Zion Grady. And so I'm excited to see when that pops, because that's going to be a big name.
And the Zion Grady thing could be like, hey, we want you, but we just may not be ready to pull the trigger right now. And he was. So he's ready to get to get in a class. Honestly, I didn't even really know Ohio State was that really much into. I thought it was going to be between Miami and Florida State. I thought it was a Florida battle. So that kind of came out of nowhere. And it could have just been, hey, I want to jump in. And maybe we just weren't quite there yet NIL wise, and we could push if we needed to. But at this point in time, when he was ready to jump in, we just weren't quite ready to go.
Right. Which I get. I think that's fine. Especially if Durkin really likes what he saw with Jared Smith. So to me, I think that's great.
You can't really count anyone out these days anyway. You know what I mean? Like it seems like everybody has at least 2 commitments. The average has to be like 1.3 or 1.4 commitments per player. It seems like especially 4-star players. Golly, there's just back and forth.
Yeah. And it's probably just going to get worse as NIL's more and more established, which, I mean, it's fine. Makes this more interesting too. Once again, it's so much harder on these coaches. Hey, just for a second, let's talk about Caleb Cunningham, the 5-star wide receiver from Mississippi. A few weeks ago, it seemed like it was Auburn and Mississippi State, and the Auburn side of this. I'm sure you and I had the same conversations. Like, cool, we like our chances here. And then Wilt Fong of On 3 drops a Fong bomb, predicting him to go to Alabama. And this is a guy that I really thought Auburn had a solid shot with, and obviously it's not over. But your thoughts on that news?
Was it Fong that dropped that? Was it Chad Simmons? I think it was Chad Simmons. It may have been. If it was Fong,
no, it was Wilt Fong.
Okay, that's a pretty big
623. So
that's a pretty big. I mean, that's a pretty big prediction. That means the visit high was quick, but he hasn't committed yet. So typically,
Simmons
Fong
did it too. They both did it.
I saw Simmons first. I wasn't sure about the Fong. I didn't see the Fong bomb, but that's fairly significant. I mean,
they're about 30 minutes apart from each other. Simmons was about 30 minutes ahead.
Yeah. Alabama's been very aggressive on their official visits. They seem to do a really, really good job of when they come on an official visit, they can really get them to pull the trigger. Now, whether or not those commitments stick, or whether it's an incentive-based commitment when they're there, I have no idea. But the fact of the matter is, if Auburn gets one of these top quarterbacks in, a Juju or even a KJ Lacey, and you put a decent product on the field, I don't think Caleb Cunningham's. I don't think this really means a ton for his recruitment. I don't think it's anywhere near over. Same thing with Antonio Coleman. Same thing with Derek Smith. Again, visit highs, visit season, visit highs. They haven't let it be. And then
losing you. We are losing you, Charlie5. But yeah, visit highs are a big thing. And Alabama's done a great job with that. There's no question about it. So who could be the next to commit to the Auburn Tigers? We discuss in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at eBay Motors. eBay, they understand passion, drive, and patience. It's a formula for winning championships, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle to level up to peak performance. They've got over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for at eBay Motors. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit. Only available to U.S. customers. Charlie5, there's a lot of names. There's a crazy amount of names out there, both in the 2025 class and the 2026 class. A lot of these players, we know kind of when they're going to announce. We have several on July 4th, or at least that week, that first week of July. Some of those have kind of moved a little bit. Anquan Fagans, the safety from Thompson that we mentioned earlier in the show, that's towards the end of July. So he's probably not going to be the next one. But in your mind, where does your brain go and say, okay, who could be the next one to commit to the Auburn Tigers?
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be, you're probably the higher chance is probably a 2026 guy. Okay. It could be, one of like a Hezekiah Harris, Shadarius Tootle, or and then the 2025 guy you may have next. It could still be Herbert Scroggins or Jacoby Ward. I think you're still the one of those four is probably going to be your next commit, unless some kind of surprise comes out of nowhere. But I think one of those four is probably going to be your next guy. It's really hard right now to pin down because, like you said, we've had some surprise commits and it's kind of thrown off some time frames. I don't really know 100% how I feel yet about the not letting kids sort of pull the trigger when they're ready and spacing it out. I don't know. I don't know if I'm 100% there yet. I kind of like just go ahead and get on the boat when you can, but still some good stuff lined up. And I think, if you look at one of those four, I think that's probably a pretty safe bet.
There's two players I want to specifically ask you about. One is Scroggins. We mentioned him a little bit last segment, but Herbert Scroggins, for folks who missed yesterday's show, which, by the way, we're doing 2 Locked On Auburns a day right now. So be sure to check out the show later today, or if you only listened to one yesterday, be sure to go back and check out the other one. But with Herbert Scroggins, he does the official visit to Miami, and then he puts out the note of, hey, I'm not committed, because he was supposed to commit tomorrow. And that's not happening now, according to his social post. So we'll see what happens with him. But are you concerned at all about the timing of that? I mean, it doesn't look great.
No, there's no doubt about the postponement was because he had a great visit. Like, there's no doubt about that. Like, clearly he was committing to Auburn, like we all thought, on Tuesday, and Miami did something to make him want to postpone that. Now, if he had obviously kept his commitment and went to Miami, then we'd be in, a whole different conversation. But at the end of the day, I think once these kids kind of come off that visit high, I'm sure he's already talked to, Josh Aldridge or whoever, DJ Durkin on the defense that he needed to talk to. I'm sure they've already kind of talked, okay, Miami said this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to answer that. So I still feel fine about him. I think we're still confident about him. I think once you say I'm not going to commit, you can't commit now. So you got to push it back. So regardless, I think the date may push back, but I still feel like Auburn has a slight lead here.
And then the other name, which it's funny, they both have Miami ties, I guess now, but Elijah Melendez, the linebacker that's committed to Miami. I know there's smoke, and he posted videos of him working out in Auburn gear and stuff. I don't know why. I'm just not buying this one. Am I off on this? Am I being too skeptical? I just don't think he's coming here.
Yeah, he had some pretty strong words he had a great visit this weekend, and I think the family aspect wants him to probably stay home a little bit more as well. So again, what happens for Big Cat Weekend? He said he was coming back. So does he come back for Big Cat Weekend? And if he does, all bets are off. Big Cat Weekend I feel like it's more important this year than maybe any other time that I can possibly remember, because
more important than last year. I mean, what happened last year was pretty crazy.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, we knew. I feel like for the people that pay attention, we knew what was going to happen for like a month. You know what I mean? Like, we knew leading up to that. This Big Cat Weekend, I don't really feel like there's not that big flip. It's like, this is a big visit weekend to like regain some momentum and push some kids over the edge and get them to go ahead and pull the trigger. Last year, it was almost like a celebration. Like, we kind of knew this was going to happen, and it was like you're waiting for a movie release, like you're waiting for the next Marvel movie to come out, and you were fired up, and then Big Cat Weekend happened, and then they had the flips. I don't really see that
Marvel
this year.
Pre-Endgame, not Marvel post-Endgame.
It's every Marvel. It's every Marvel movie for me.
No, it's not. No,
I'm in.
Everyone. Dude, there's been some snoozers.
Oh, there's been some terrible ones, but you got to go see them because you never know. You don't know how they're going to tie in. You got to go see it. So, but this is not that like that.
I forgot you were really into I forgot how into that you were. My bad.
Yeah. Yeah. But I just don't see that type of feel leading up to this year's Big Cat Weekend. I think it's just
who could it be? And I remember we're talking about this a million times, but like I think by then we'll have an idea at quarterback, and so it could be Juju, it could be KJ, like that.
Yeah,
that's probably what it is.
Yeah.
But
it's just not a clear picture yet.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Because like we've got the idea of Fagans at this point.
Yeah.
It's who else could it be? Like, could it be Big Tony? Like, do you have a chance to flip him again? Like, I feel like if that's going to happen, it's going to happen closer to December. I don't really know why I feel that way. I just do. Yeah, I mean that's a good.
You don't need Big Tony to have time to make a decision. You need him done. You need him to flip at the end. If you're going to you don't need to give him any opportunity.
Yeah.
To get,
okay,
to
you're
go back.
sign it real quick. Real quick.
Yeah, we need signing day flip. That's what we need on that one. And I don't think it's out of the question.
Calls him at 5:30 in the morning. It's like, all right, here we go. Here's what we're going to do here. Yeah.
Exactly. You plan it out that way.
Good point. So we'll see. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun weekend for sure. Charlie5, how can people check out everything that you've got going on?
We finally broke the internet streak tonight. It was a great run. It was a solid run, and the internet kind of crapped out there for a second. You can find me on Twitter.
It's kind of nice. It's like, okay, all right, no matter what we do, no matter how much you pod, this is who we are.
Exactly. Find me on Twitter, _Charlie_5, or every single day on the Top Button Podcast. We're going to get after it every single day.
Yep. Just search Top Button wherever you listen to shows or on the Auburn Daily YouTube page. And just a reminder, there's 2 Locked On Auburns every day for the foreseeable future, including yesterday, including today. So
what an animal.
Yeah, so be sure to come back this afternoon as well. Like the video, subscribe. We'll see you soon. This has been Locked On Auburn.